It was a chilly November morning in a small town outside of Chicago. The streets were still blanketed in golden autumn leaves, rustling slightly as the cold breeze swept through. The sky was a soft gray, hinting at the first snowfall of the season. Inside Joe's Diner, a small 1950s-style restaurant, the smell of fresh coffee, sizzling bacon, and homemade pancakes filled the air. The place had been a staple of the town for decades, a home away from home for locals who gathered every morning for their usual orders and friendly conversations. The bell above the door jingled. Conversations hushed momentarily as an elderly man stepped inside, leaning slightly on a wooden cane. He wasn't just any man. His faded army jacket told a story. A patch on his sleeve read 82nd Airborne Division, and on his chest, a purple heart medal gleamed faintly under the dim diner lights. His name was Walter Thompson, a 96-year-old World War II veteran. And today, something was about to happen that would remind him that his sacrifices had never been forgotten. Walter took slow, steady steps toward an empty booth near the window. He moved carefully, as if each step carried decades of memories, some beautiful, some too painful to recall. As he settled into the seat, his hands trembled slightly while reaching for the menu. Not that he needed it. He had ordered the same breakfast for years: black coffee, 2 eggs, and toast. A young waitress, Emily, walked over with a warm smile. "Good morning, sir. Coffee?" Walter nodded. "Yes, please. Black." As she poured, Emily's eyes fell on the medals pinned to his jacket. A flicker of recognition crossed her face. "Were you in the military?" she asked, her voice laced with curiosity and admiration. Walter looked up, his deep blue eyes twinkling despite his tired expression. "Yes, ma'am. World War II, Normandy." Emily inhaled sharply. "Oh my gosh, you were in Normandy?" Walter gave a small nod, offering a faint smile. "A long time ago." Emily glanced toward the counter, where her manager John stood watching. Without saying a word, she turned and whispered something in his ear. Within minutes, the atmosphere in the diner shifted. The soft hum of casual conversations dimmed as people took notice of the man sitting quietly by the window. Some whispered to each other, others simply stared, their eyes darting between the old soldier and his medals. Then something remarkable happened. A man in his 40s, wearing a baseball cap and a worn-out U.S. Marines hoodie, slowly rose from his seat. He walked over to Walter's table, his hands slightly clenched as if trying to steady his emotions. "Sir," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I just want to say thank you for your service." Walter looked up, visibly taken aback. "It was a long time ago," he said softly. The man shook his head. "It still matters." Then another person stood up, then another. Within moments, the entire diner was on their feet. Some clapped. Some placed their hands over their hearts. Others wiped tears from their eyes. For years, Walter had felt forgotten. A soldier long past his time, living in the quiet shadows of history. But today, here in this small town diner, he realized something. People still remembered. People still cared. As Walter sat there, his wrinkled hands resting on the table, he tried to steady his breathing. His eyes welled with tears, but he quickly blinked them away. He wasn't used to this kind of attention. Emily returned, this time with a large breakfast plate in her hands. Bacon, eggs, pancakes, and fresh fruit. "This one's on us," she said with a warm smile. Walter glanced down at the plate and then back up at her. "I didn't order all this," he said, confused. Emily chuckled. "You didn't have to. Consider it a thank you from all of us." Just then, the diner owner, John, walked over and pulled up a chair across from Walter. He looked at the old veteran with admiration. "Sir, I don't know what we'd be without men like you." Walter chuckled softly, shaking his head. "Just an old soldier, son." John's eyes glistened. "More than that, a hero." Walter looked down, suddenly feeling the weight of all those years. The years spent fighting, the years spent grieving, and the years spent wondering if anyone even remembered. At that moment, a young boy, no older than 10, walked up to the table, holding something in his small hands. A tiny American flag. He held it out shyly. "Thank you, sir," he said, barely above a whisper. Walter reached out, his hand shaking slightly as he took the flag. His fingers ran along the fabric, feeling every star and stripe. His lips trembled, and for the first time in a long time, he let a tear fall. This wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was a reminder that his sacrifices had not been in vain. As Walter finished his meal, something unexpected happened. A woman in the corner booth pulled out her phone. She had recorded the entire moment, the standing ovation, the young boy's gift, the look on Walter's face. Within hours, that video would be seen by millions. By the next morning, Walter's story was everywhere. Local news stations ran the story. Veterans organizations reached out, offering support. People all over the country commented, thanking him for his service. And then something even more incredible happened. A fundraiser was started in Walter's name. A group of people from the diner had set up a donation page to support aging veterans in need. The goal, $5,000. But within just 1 week, the number had skyrocketed to over $50,000. Veterans across the country heard Walter's story. Some reached out, some simply sent messages of gratitude. Some even showed up at the diner, hoping to meet the man who had reminded the world that our heroes still walk among us. A week later, Walter sat in his booth again, his usual seat by the window, his usual black coffee steaming in front of him. But this time, something was different. He wasn't alone. A group of veterans from different wars had joined him. Korean War veterans, Vietnam veterans, Gulf War veterans. They laughed, they shared stories. And for the first time in a long time, Walter didn't feel like just an old man sitting in a diner. He felt like a soldier among his brothers. And as he sat there, looking around at the faces filled with admiration and gratitude, he realized something. He had walked into that diner expecting just another quiet breakfast. But what he got was something far greater. Gratitude, love, and a reminder that he still mattered. Sometimes life has a way of surprising us. A simple cup of coffee, a plate of breakfast, a small gesture of kindness. These things have the power to change someone's world. And for Walter Thompson, on that cold November morning, a small town diner reminded him of something he had nearly forgotten. Heroes never fade. Their legacy lives on in the hearts of those who remember. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring real-life stories. See you in the next one.